Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Ida Natasha and I am from Sekolah Menengah KEBANGSAAN PEREMPUAN PUDU. I am extremely excited to talk about one of my favorite books, which is The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Alright, this book might sound a little fictional based on the title, but I assure you that this is actually a biography about William Kamkwambe, who grew up in a tiny nation called Malawi in South Africa. It was so small that even William himself had described his country as a flatworm on the map in South Africa. And he grew up in a tiny village in the outskirts of Wimbe. Now you could imagine his living conditions already. They were nowhere near to knowing about the modern technology and they even couldn't get modern medicine. They had to go through wizards and witches to cure their sickness because they just couldn't afford to go out of their village and seek for further treatment. Alright. Now what intrigues me about this story is that how it sparks my curiosity. As you can see, it already started with William succeeding in making a windmill for his village for electricity and easy access to water. And furthermore, as I go into this story, I was extremely curious because William was not well off. And he had to drop out of school at a very young age to help his father with the maize farm. And he didn't have many facilities when it comes to education, but he could make it. And a terrible famine had struck his village one day, and it just brought his village to poverty. So as I go along into the story, I am just wondering, how does he do it? Now, William was a really bright-minded boy, despite his scrawny manner. William loved football, or if you could say, soccer. And he would always listen to soccer on a small portable radio their village would have. And usually the small portable radio was just owned by a few people who are considered wealthy in their village. And William would borrow from his cousin, Godfrey, or he would borrow from his friend who was the chief's son. And he would get really curious about the radio. As you see, William is an extremely curious boy, and his thirst for knowledge is just unexplainable. He would open a radio and study the wires and everything without any reference, without any book. It was just purely him trying to figure it out. Of course it took a long time, but at the end he did it. And even the villagers called him little scientist, as they give their radios to him for him to fix, and he could fix. And the only materials he had were the materials from the junkyard, which he would go and collect with his friend and his cousin, Godfrey. As you see, Godfrey had lost his father due to a sickness. And they both had to drop out of school to help their uncle, which is William's father. And William is, you could say, a family-oriented guy. He loved his sisters, he loved his mother, he loved his father. And I think what's drove him to make this windmill was mostly because he was thinking of his family, he was thinking of his village, he was thinking of how to give his village a better life. And as you go further in the story, you would be motivated as well, because William, he had to seek knowledge, he had to find knowledge on every little thing he could get his hands on. As for example, he was intrigued by a dynamo which used to lit up a bicycle's light once you start pedaling. And he saw his father's bicycle and he asked, "What is that?" And the father said, "Oh, well, once I start pedaling, this dynamo will light up my light." And William was curious, and he made that dynamo as one of the sources to help him with his windmill. Isn't that amazing? And then, more about William. He's this really patient, and he could be an inspiration to everyone, as he built the windmill with scraps and junks from the junkyard, even used batteries or plastic bottles, and he could do it. And with us, within me and him, I had more sources than him. So what drove me to this book, what made this book one of my favorite books, is just that how William could keep a positive mind to everything. And that really just inspires me. And this book is just so famous that it was made into a Netflix film. And I have watched the film, but I personally like the book. And as you can see, an inside of the book, they even show photos of William and his windmill, so you could get an idea of the story. And honestly, it's just amazing. So that's all insight I could give you about one of my favorite books, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind by William Kamkwamba and Brian Miller. Thank you very much.